August was an odd month for games, or at the very least, August was an odd month for gaming and me. Now, at the start of the month, I was super pumped to get into Cataclismo. This is a game where I played the demo for Steam Next, I really liked what they were doing, I've liked previous things from the studio, and so I was pumped for the release. And you know what? It's still really cool, which is to say, it does exactly what it says on the tin. Think they are billions, but you're using Legos to build all your defensive structures. It's a really cool premise, the devs executed it well, and I had a lot of fun with the early access. And initially, I was going to immediately make a video covering this game. However, I've kind of changed my mind on that. Not because there's something wrong with it, but because there's always this weirdness when you cover an early access title. What's going to change? Is your video going to be outdated tomorrow? Is it going to be outdated in 6 months? Is it going to be in that weird 90% correct state where you don't know what to do? And so for now, I'm not going to be making any dedicated videos on Cataclismo. But I very much did enjoy the additional campaign missions, and I really like the endless mode. So I look forward to seeing what the devs do, especially as the game exits early access. Once it does, I'm definitely going to do a full review of the campaign, and I'm probably going to do a couple other things. So if you want to see that in the future, do be sure to get subscribed, leave a like while you're down there. And don't worry, I'm sure I'm still going to cover plenty of early access titles in the future. But after playing Cataclismo, I entered the weird month of August phase, where I kind of bounced around between a bunch of different games and didn't stick to any single one for very long, which is kind of unusual for me. Oftentimes, if I'm bouncing between games a lot, it's either because I'm playing all of them simultaneously, because I'm a maniac, or they're shorter games, and I beat them, then move on to the next one. So first up, I went back to Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. It's still pretty fun, the mastery update's interesting, it's at least something to grind. I don't know, that game's starting to feel a little bit too far on the grindy side, but hey, it's still fun, and I definitely look forward to the 1.0 update. After that, I said, you know, it's been a while since I played Octopath Traveler, and I really liked exploring that game. So maybe I'll play through Octopath Traveler, and then play through all of Octopath Traveler 2, which I haven't played yet, but I really want to. And after about an hour, I realized that no, I don't want to marathon 2 JRPGs back to back. So I decided to shelve that, at least for now. I'm going to come back to it later. I don't know if I'll play through the first or if I'll just jump straight into the second. So after that, I said, all right, what about something shorter? Well, then I tried Deathloop. Now, when I first played Deathloop, it just didn't quite capture the same magic as Dishonored, so it didn't really grab me. I'm sure it's a perfectly fine game, but it's not Dishonored, and that put me off the title. So I tried Deathloop again, and it's still not Dishonored. That one goes back on the shelf as well. Then I played a couple games of Nexus 5X. Didn't really scratch the Civilization itch that I'm getting now that I know Civ 7's coming, but hey, it was still fun, and it's especially nice to play with friends. Then after that, I filled the next few days with random Hades 2 runs. Turns out that game is still genuinely excellent, even almost 100 hours in. For most of these runs, I did them on Heat 32, and used them as an excuse to revisit old favorites. For example, the Aspect of Pan, which absolutely obliterated everything on Fear 32. Or the Aspect of Momus, where I tried to get super greedy. It would have been epic if I won, but I got a little bit too greedy towards the end, burned my Death's Defiance, and then messed up on Kronos. Oh well, better luck next time. But as we're getting to the latter half of August, a very important day came. August 20th, 2024, the release date for Black Myth Wukong. Now, I remember seeing the trailers for this game and being absolutely amazed. Like, the hair physics looked incredible. The environments looked too good to be real. And that was the thing. The entire game looked too good to be real. So I was a little suspicious. But also, it's one of my most anticipated games of the year, so I couldn't not try it, right? Yeah, as it turns out, it's even better than I hoped. The combat feels amazing. There's over 100 bosses, most of which are unique, and there's so many secrets to find. Early on, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, everything seemed reasonably straightforward. I didn't think I'd spend nearly as much time as I have hunting for secrets. But as of right now, I'm basically at the end of the game. I think I've played roughly 60 hours, and I swear almost 50% of that playtime was just hunting down all the secrets or dying to the secret bosses that I hunted down and maybe wasn't quite prepared for. So far, my favorite boss to date is still Yellow Long. He's one of those very challenging secret bosses, and he just absolutely destroys you. But he destroys you in the same way that the bosses in Shadow of the Erd Tree destroyed you. Which is to say, the entire fight feels very fair, it's just difficult. The boss has a complex sequence of attacks, and as his health gets lower, he chains them together in new and different ways. So you not only need to understand each individual component of his attacks, but you also need to understand how he uses them together. Which made the process of mastering that fight very fun. Also, because I'm not super good at these games, doing that took me about a day. Hey, it was time well spent, and may have also been a very significant contributing factor to that 30 hours spent in secret content stuff. Now, in addition, I also think it's really cool that every time you beat a chapter, there's this little animated story that plays out, either giving you more context to who the characters were, or alternatively, giving you some more context for what you're about to experience. At this point, it's pretty safe to say that Black Myth Wukong has been a massive success. I deeply enjoyed it, and I very much look forward to what Game Science makes for Black Myth 2, since yes, they've already said this game is going to be a series. And if some recent articles are to be believed, there's a good chance we're getting Black Myth Wukong DLC as well, and that's something else that I'm very excited for. So now I'm curious, what's one game that you felt like it was too good to be true before it came out, and in fact, it baited you? On release, the game itself didn't live up to the hype, the trailers, the demo, whatever you experienced before. And also, what's one title that you felt like, well, surely this is too good to be true, and was actually exactly as good as it appeared? For me, the thing that fits best into that first category would be Wolcen Lords of Mayhem, an old ARPG that promised to be, well, pretty much everything, and that in and of itself should have been the first big red flag. When they talked about the game, they talked about a lot of really cool and innovative systems, and when the game released, it never lived up to most of those. There were a few cool things here and there, the game definitely had its highlights, but it was continually plagued by bugs, and it felt like a lot of those bugs got in the way of what otherwise could have been good design. On the other hand, like I just said, going into Black Myth Wukong, I absolutely thought that game was going to be too good to be true, that maybe it was going to be all graphics, all style, and no substance. Or maybe it was going to be a glitchy mess that was just unplayable, or maybe it just simply wouldn't run because the graphics were too intensive. And for the most part, none of these things were true. Unfortunately, during some of the cutscenes, I have gotten some weird audio glitches that are kind of immersion breaking, and I've noticed whenever I teleport to a new zone, I'll lag for like 5 to 15 seconds as soon as I zone in, so I have to be a little bit careful before immediately entering combat. But once the game gets running, it runs as smooth as butter, at least on my computer. The combat's really good. The storytelling's also good. The bosses are pretty darn unique, on top of being really well designed. When I found out that the game had over 100 bosses, I thought, oh, a lot of them are going to be repeats or reskins. And yeah, there's a few that are repeats, there's a few that are reskins, sometimes you just encounter the same boss multiple times, but an overwhelming majority of them are fully unique encounters with different mechanics. And that is really, really cool. So this is very much one of those games that's the exception which proves the rule. But hey, share some of your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, if you're looking for something else to watch, you can check out my first impressions of Black Myth Wukong. My mind's definitely changed on some things, but hey, more about that when I actually review the game. Or you can see my first impressions of Beyond These Stars, a fun, cozy little city builder. Or of course, you can see the games that I played in May, June, or July. I'll link to all of those up in the card and down below. Before I go, a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. For as low as $1 a month, you can help make videos just like this one possible. Link support is down below. And a big thanks to everyone who watched to the end of the video. I'm glad you enjoyed. Hopefully you had a little better luck sticking to games than I did during August. But hey, I look forward to seeing you in the next one when I talk about the games that I played in September.